Welcome to the Empath Woman Awaken, the podcast that helps you uncover and realize your greatest potential. I'm your host and creator, Jennifer Lewis. After losing 82 pounds, I realized my greatest potential. Once insecure, afraid, and depressed, I now confidently embody my gifts, who I am, and what I feel called to do. I've built an international coaching practice and founded a federally recognized 501c3 nonprofit. I'm here to help you stop hiding and embody your greatest gifts so you too can unlock your greatest potential and achieve whatever it is you set your mind to achieve. This is Empath Woman Awaken. Welcome, everybody. And Whitney, thank you for being here with us today. I'm excited to have you here and look forward to that message that is going to come out and just be heard in what these women are looking for, what they're seeking answers to, and how they can really tune in to their intuition to guide and lead them. And you have a business called Messenger of Spirit, and You've done so many things and have impacted so many lives with your gift. I'm going to turn it over to you so that you can just share with us what you do and how you got to this place of doing that.
Sure. Thanks so much. I could probably just go on and on with the story, so I'll try to keep it short. But I started my business Messenger of Spirit back in 2010, but it took me a long time to get to that place. And so when I was younger, I was always really sensitive and I was super empathic. I also saw things and I did not know how to explain what I saw. Nobody else understood me. Nobody else got me. And I remember one day I was coming home from college to visit my parents. And in the middle of the night, I saw a person and I freaked out. It wasn't really a physical person. It was like what I thought at the time was a ghost. And I had watched probably too many episodes of Ghost Whisperer. So I just said, "You're dead, go to the light." Then I pretty much had rejected all of my abilities. But what happened is I got off my path. So when you get off your path, you are basically driving a car with a blindfold on because you're not getting any guidance from your intuition or from your spirit helpers. And so I went down the wrong path for a while. And, I've still retained this essence of being really sensitive to other people's feelings and unfortunately some of the negativity. And I was working a job I just couldn't stand. And I was also in a marriage that was not great either. And so I ended up taking on everybody else's stuff. And so I got really sick. And when I got really sick, I actually got to a place where I was going to apply for disability because I just could not work anymore. No doctor could tell me what was wrong. So my aunt, following her intuition, said, "I'm going to scoop you up and take you to this alternative healing place." And so I had spiritual healing. I had time away from my phone. I wasn't in that negative environment. And then after 4 days, I had this miraculous energy, and I never thought I would have that energy again. And so I realized that there was really something to energy, what I was picking up. I started to understand more of I was out of alignment. I've been doing everything else for other people. I was saying yes instead of saying no. I wanted to please everybody. And so that attributed to all of this gunk that built up in my mind, in my aura, in my chakra system. And so when I came back, I really looked like a new person. I felt like a new person. And I just knew it was time to get on the path. And so that's, in essence, how I came to say it's time to embrace these abilities. It's a time to embrace these gifts. Yes. I want to help other people and teach them what I've learned. So I love helping other people connect to their own spiritual abilities and their intuition, and also how to protect their energy too. That's really important.
Yeah, so many, so often. I love that because I'm hearing your story in the same as my story in my clients. And it's the same that we felt alone. We had these sensitivities. We felt maybe even some shame because the people around us didn't understand. So they would say things, you're too sensitive, you need thicker skin. Why does that bother you so much? And so we heard these things. And so we store all this doubt and shame. And so then it's almost like we go out as we grow, as we get older. It's almost like we go out and try to earn that feeling of comfort and love by serving and giving. And we're doing all these things. And then our body goes, wait a minute, what are you doing? I can't function at this. I always say, you can either choose to give yourself that relief and that break, or your body is going to force you to.
Oh, for sure.
Right? I mean, and what I see too is I see a lot of autoimmune type disorders. I see a lot of gut disorders, which when you think about it, so much of what we receive is in our body, especially our gut. So it's very interesting to me to hear your story, that it's identical to what I call healers and who are bringing this light and this awareness out in the open. Like, we don't need to be full of shame. We can embody this and who we are. And use it for good. It is not some scary thing. It's being used for good. So,
for sure. Our bodies are so smart.
so much smarter than us. It doesn't have all the judgment going on and the ideas and the paradigms and that. It's like, wait, here's this. Settle in, go to sleep. Eat your greens, drink your water, and you're good. But we get so busy, we don't do that. So
I so agree. And I used to really actually separate, okay, this is my physical body is one thing, but my spirituality and my sensitivities are different when they're really one and the same, because they're all connected. We have the emotional body, the spiritual body, the mental body, and the physical. But I always neglected the physical, and I just didn't put it together. And so unfortunately, the physical body is kind of like a dumping ground where we're not cleaning things out, right? And then we have to look at our physical body and say, oh, there's a problem. So there's most likely something else going on in my other bodies as well, such as my thought patterns, my mindset, my emotions, something, because they're all connected. And I really loved what you said, Jennifer. I totally agree. And when I do readings for my clients, I see a lot of the messages come through regarding diet for people, because the person is holding energy in their solar plexus, or there's something going on in the chakra system, and that governs the empathic nature of what we have too. And I have to tell you a story. It just reminded me. So when I had that big healing, one of the exercises that I did was I got to work with horses, but it was an energetic working with horses. And so the guy said, this horse is saying to you, you do not exist, and he's crowding your space. And he said, I want you to push the horse and claim your space, like push the horse out. Well, I was freaked out, like this huge creature, like I can't push this horse. I don't know what you're talking about. And it was actually hard for me because I wasn't claiming my space in my solar plexus, which is where our food, in our digestive system, that area is governed there, but also it's our personal power and how we're claiming part of that space. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to actually do this with an animal. And so of course I'm going to be afraid to do this with people. And so then he had me do another exercise, and he said, I want you to take your solar plexus and push your energy out so that the horse can feel it. And you're basically going to guide the horse around the ring, just walking very near him. It was kind of near him into the back. I couldn't get too close because you don't want to get kicked. And that horse did not move. And I had to learn how to push my energy out.
Use it.
Yes.
Yes.
So basically I think too, when we're so tired and we're feeling like there's so much negativity going on and stuff, it's because we're not pushing our energy out. I call it like putting out your peacock feathers, right? We push it out.
Yeah.
And when we are not pushing it out, it's almost like we're the person in the elevator that nobody sees that gets into the person's face. And so it's like this rewiring of our brain, our mindset, our emotions, and our bodies to just claim our space first. So we don't take all that stuff.
I love that. I don't know if you know, so I have an animal rescue here, a nonprofit. Yeah, animal rescue. Yeah. And so I love that you use the animals because that's I just love the energy of the animals. And a lot of them come in. I mean, you can communicate with them, but you really use your body to communicate with them. And I love that you brought that up with horses because they are a very large animal. And if they don't want to move, they're not going to move. And you do a lot of times have to hold that space for yourself, almost as if we get out of the victim, like we're afraid and we're scared and we're vulnerable and something's going to hurt us, and really rise up into that, okay, here I am in my strength, in my empowerment. You are going to move. It's almost like you have to use all of it. You've got to use your body. You've got to use your mind. And you've got to think so much of when we're riding the horse even. You get to the point where you can communicate without the aids, without reins and your legs. And because it is all energy and you get to use that. And what comes up for me, and I'm thinking about it, this then leads me into, because so often what I'm seeing is these women are attracting in negative, the negative narcissist, the negative experiences, the heavy, deep, almost depression. So is that an energetic that is being attracted in, or what is that in your experience? What is happening?
Well, majority of the people that I see who come to me that are empathic, they're healers. And when they haven't established the energy in their solar plexus to push it out, what happens is they're really not saying they have good boundaries, like energetically. So they're not saying they have good boundaries. So for instance, there was no way I could push that horse with my energy. I had to learn, and eventually it was successful, but there were no boundaries for the horse to feel the energy.
Yes. Okay.
So when we start to have boundaries in that energy, then we start attracting more of that healthy relationship. Now, there might be some narcissists or people that we just come into contact with because that's life, but it doesn't have to affect that person. And so I always will see people without the good boundaries that are healers attract people that need healing. So it's almost as if one person is completely open and the other person is centered on themselves, and they are attracted to each other for balance because neither one are in balance. And so together they're trying to work out balance, but it's a really unhealthy situation. It's just not going to happen. So it's a bad pairing. So the better, healthier boundaries, and if you can get that solar plexus in balance by eating right, by doing chakra meditations for the solar plexus, there's other things as well, then we start saying, okay. And the other thing too, I wanted to share on that point is, like you were saying, it's almost like this oppression or the stuff that we're sucking in. One of the things too I see with empaths and those who may not have great boundaries are that they're not releasing anything. They're like afraid to express. So we express through our throat. We release a lot through our root chakra, and the root chakra governs our physical body and our health. So we have to work on expressing and releasing, express, release, put up those boundaries energetically as well. But it's almost like I can't release this, because if I release this, I'm going to feel vulnerable and exposed, and people will then see me and not all this other stuff I do for people. It can be translated in the energy that way as well. And so it's like, oh no, I don't have these people that I'm hiding behind, even though like logically we don't want these people in our life if they're negative.
Right.
But it's literally like if you were to have a bunch of coats on and then you finally release all the stuff you've been wearing, you feel exposed, almost naked.
Yes.
Like, what? I don't know. So it's really a retraining of your energy, of your mindset, of learning to express. And oftentimes these women have not been able to express themselves and then let it be heard in a healthy way. And I've had that in my past before too. So it's just a different change that needs to come from the spark that we have inside of us that says, it's okay to change. I'm going to give myself permission to change. I'm not selfish by putting myself first.
Yes.
We've got to put ourselves first. And so I could just keep on going. Do you want me to talk about that?
I love that. I feel like I just want to sit here and listen and listen and listen. And I'm just like, yes, I just want to yes. Because so many, it's a healing of the feminine that is taking place, in my opinion. Because for so long, we all have these stories of vulnerability where that was taken advantage of or something happened that we are afraid of being seen, that A, we might be taking the attention from someone else, or B, no, our place is back here. We're not to be seen nor heard. And it's this old belief system, this old paradigm that is shifting. And so we can be heard, but it's so interesting that you say that, because that is what I hear on my clients. It's like, I don't want to hide anymore. I feel like I'm just so restricted. And so often, as somebody who does deal with health and weight and that kind of thing, they come in and they've just deprived and restricted and punished. And they have this feeling of just being trapped in their own bodies. And their weight is that coat that keeps them hidden. Nobody will see me. Nobody will notice me, except something is calling them. They want to be heard. They want to use these gifts. They want to be of value and worthy or worth, but there's like this conflicting story going on within them. So how did you, I'm curious for yourself, because you came out of that place and now here you are, an amazing messenger to these women and empowering them and helping them embody those gifts without fear. That's really just, here I am, here's my energy. I'm going to own this space and be quite comfortable showing up in that place of, I am worth this. I am worth being able to invest in myself for this retreat, or to invest in this to help me get to this place without feeling bad about that, right? So how did you go from here over in the lower energy? And what I hear is you invested in this program. And I think I'm pretty familiar with is it Tucson? I just read his book. So you invested there, but I'm sure that wasn't the only thing. It was probably kind of a few events in your life. What did that look like for you?
Well, when I had all this, I had Reiki, I had spiritual healing, I did the horse therapy, and I actually too will say that I ate really healthy. And I remember I did all this for like 4 days straight in a row. And then I also did not have my cell phone. So basically why I'm saying this is because I took care of my body, took care of my energy, and I said no to other people. So it was like, this is time for me, and I'm only going to do what I need to do. So it was no communication with the phone, which was great.
Yes.
So if you can take a little while to separate yourself from all of your surroundings, I think that's important. Whether you can go to travel somewhere or you can just do it within your home, whatever it is, just, I'm going to take this time. And for me, I needed a little chunk of time where it was, I'm not going to think about anything. To be honest with you, Jennifer, you first have to give yourself permission to do it, because we're so used to going, serving, that we have to say, it's okay to put myself first for these 4 days so that I can get clarity. And when I get clarity and I feel recharged, when my battery's recharged, then I will be in a better place to help other people. But those helping other people, hopefully that's going to change too, because it's got to be in a healthy way, right?
Right.
So
Exactly. Yes.
I felt amazing after this, and I wanted to hold on to it. And I
Mm.
knew that I was getting ready to go back into a negative work environment. And so in that environment, I wanted to counteract anything that was negative. So if there was a negative thought that went through my head or a negative person, I would put my energy boundaries up. And I would also, if I caught the thought, I would immediately replace it with a positive thought. So if I said, I'm so tired, I'd say, I'm full of energy, even if I didn't feel it, because the bodies are all connected. So if my mindset is this way and I put that emotion to it and say, I'm full of energy, I can't help but smile. And my solar plexus lights up, and then I have a better posture. And so the more I said that, I was learning to retrain my thought pattern. So I was shifting it. Okay, no, I'm not looking for the negative anymore. I'm looking for the positive. So that's one of the things that I really did. And then I also sought out to clear my chakras.
Okay.
So I had to work on the solar plexus for, pushing my energy boundaries out and making sure it was in balance. And then I needed to release as well. So I needed to actually work on my physical health, my physical body through working out. Even diet is part of that. It's just, I had to work on releasing because I was holding in so much. And I was just saying to myself, this is good for me and it's going to help everybody else because I'm going to be in a better balanced space.
Yes.
And so it's the journey, right?
Yes.
That's how we started out, but it's a journey. And
Yeah.
the more that I was feeling like me without all this stuff around me, and I opened up with my intuition, talking to my spirit guides, understanding, okay, I have these abilities for a purpose. What is this purpose? And I'm following my excitement with it. And the more you follow your excitement with what you really want to do, the more opportunities open up. The more you talk to your spirit guides, the more you listen to those gut feelings and intuitions, you really start moving on the right path.
Yes.
And so that's how it was. But I will say to you, Jennifer, that I was scared to death sometimes speaking my truth. So I was in the Bible Belt and I was like, I'm a medium, I'm like, hey, everybody, I'm a medium. And
goodness.
And then I'm going to start a spiritualist church, where it's basically we're going to be giving messages to other people. And so I was really nervous, but I had to follow. I realized that it wasn't going to be served up to me in a platter. I had to create it, right?
Yes. Yep.
So if you want to walk your path, it's not going to just be served to you and prepared. You'll have opportunities to do things. You'll have doors that open, but you actually have to walk through them if you sincerely want the change and whatever your purpose is, whether it's to be an author or to be a writer. I guess those are kind of the same, or an actress or a nurse or a medium, whatever it is. It's just, you've got to do that. So I knew that I never wanted to go back to the negative cycle. And so I had to create the change if I wanted to sustain that positive feeling. If you are in a place where you're constantly upset, you're depressed, and you feel like everybody's negative around you, those are clear signs that you got to change.
It's time to change. Exactly.
Time to change.
Yes.
And too, in your bodies as well, a lot of times we get comfortable in what we're eating. And so we have to change that too. So it's not something that is just a mindset. It's all these things connected. But I do believe it starts with mindset, but we have to really embody the change.
And it's what you're saying. That's so often. So bringing it to the body. So often we go out looking and we say, okay, we want to lose weight. So what plan do I need next? Oh, wait, that didn't work. Let me go over here and let me try this plan. Oh, wait, that didn't work. Or it works for a little bit, when really it's the 4 parts of us that need to be worked on as a whole. That what do you do? Because what are we doing when we turn to overeating, or when we turn to many different things, over drinking, overeating, over spending, over serving? What are we doing? and you brought that up, we are just trying not to feel the emotion of who we are. So we block that out rather than just sit with it and recognize, who am I? And it's tuning into that intuition, but you've got to sort out all the noise. That's what I'm hearing. When you remove, it's almost like you have to remove yourself from yourself, your natural environment, so that you can get into a place of willingness to listen, willingness to be heard. And it's an interesting concept to me because we find ourselves going and looking outside of ourselves for the answers versus tuning in, where all of our answers are. The best answers you're going to find are within you, versus looking, okay, well, if I serve over here and I do this, then I'm valuable. Then I can be loved. When, what do we really need? We need that love from inside, from us first, and understanding our value first, understanding our worth without having somebody else give us that permission. It's almost like you said, we give ourselves the permission. We don't have to ask, right? We get to give that to ourselves, set that intention, and then take the action and be willing to not numb it out, to be willing to feel it, no matter how scary it is. I think of you in the Bible Belt and wow, being able to say, hey, guess what? I'm sure there was a lot of judgment and it's interesting to me because I pulled a card before we got on this and I was going to wait to share it, but it was about releasing the idea of judgment, of right, wrong, yes, no, Christian, not, right? Having all of these preconceived notions and judgment about this and that, and what we need to release that, because what if it's all the same? What if it's beyond our way of thinking, but what if it's all the same? And so that's when we get in that state of curiosity versus judgment, how much more can we receive and awaken to and release that restriction, which is caused by the judgment. So.
I love that. That's so brilliant. And it's really true, because when we are in this place of feeling stuck, usually there's a layer of guilt somewhere. Where if I change, it's going to affect other people's perception of me. Or if I change, I'm going to let down other people. And so therefore you're not honoring yourself. You're trying to honor all these other people. And then you get just weighed down by all this heaviness because you're not able to sustain it any longer. You're not you. And so what I have seen are people that know that they need to change, but they get stuck and overwhelmed. Like, how am I going to change all this at once? I also see that people are saying to themselves, well, it's going to be bad if I change. And, I'll have to change all these different routines. And so it's more of we got to bring it into the self-love, right? We have to love ourselves first and have self-worth and know that whatever we need to embody is a beautiful light to shine in this world, and that you can help more people when you shine with it, even if it's different from what you've been doing, because a lot of people almost get that sense of drowning, like I'm drowning and all these things. And so we have to go back into that clarity. And, I know I talked about, and I do think if anybody can leave their environment for just a little bit or detach from it to get the clarity, it's good. But if you can't, I would really recommend for you to clear your mind, because that's one of the things. People just get stuck in this hamster wheel of thought where they're overthinking or thinking and thinking, and they just need to be with themselves. And you know what? I've seen people that are like, Whitney, it's really scary to be with myself because I don't know if I want to know the answers. Because they really already do. Right.
And that's where the scary feelings come in. But those thoughts that we have often aren't even really ours as much as what's been passed on to us. And if we can't bring out that awareness and get that clarity, we're just operating from this place of not even knowing what our stories are, but they drive everything we do, right down to the mate we attract, to the money we spend, to the food we eat, to what we believe in ourselves and others.
Yes.
So much of that is impacting us. And if we can't sit and recognize, we're never going to know. We're just going to keep what I call autopilot. We're just going to keep going in this autopilot that, as you say, brings that overwhelm and that heavy, like you're drowning. You can't breathe because you're not being you. You're
Right.
being what you think the people that you want to belong to need. But what about when we shift and we're ourselves? I think of, it's really scary, right? When I think of my own experiences in, here I am, this is what I do, right? And then everybody's like, shame on you. How could you do that, right?
Right.
How do we get that confidence and that trust? So I have the three thoughts came up for me as you were talking. It was, we get the peace, we have the trust to actually do this, and then the confidence comes when you realize it's safe and you're supported. You all of a sudden, it's like the universe brings you everything you need to get on this path. And if we can stay centered in that, it's one of the last podcasts, she said, it's a bliss feeling. It's this, you can't really put it into words. It's just you're in this flow, as one of my clients. She's in this flow and it just unfolds for me. But when we get out of that space, that's when it becomes hard. That's when it's like, what is going on?
It's like you're running up against brick walls all the time.
Yes.
And I get a lot of people that say, Whitney, I don't even know who I am. Like, I don't know who I am. And so I would say, clear your mind to really allow yourself. It could be walking, it could be through meditation, and there's so many different ways, but clear your mind. And then it's a priority shift. So a lot of times women who are very in service are, my kids come first, then maybe my spouse, my family. And anyway, when they list out these things, they're not even on the list. And if they are on the list, they're last because they think it's selfish. And so what I encourage all of my clients to do is to change. And so I would say, number one, put your spiritual belief system first, whatever it is. What if it's just you feel like you get more of the connection out in the woods, or if you get more of the connection out in church, or whatever it is, put that first, because that's going to help you tap into that higher power for you. And then second, put yourself second, right? And so you're kind of putting yourself first anyway by tapping into the spiritual side. But let's just say you put you and your life purpose second. The reason I say that, it's not selfish. It's because when you put yourself and your life purpose second, which is just all the same, that's what you just said, Jennifer. Everything starts aligning. So your relationships move into the right relationship. Your doors open for your career. Your family is happier because all the things have shifted and you have shifted your energy. So when you are in the right place, everything else is also around you starts moving into the right place. So you've got to be happy, really, to feel like, all right, I'm in the flow. And it is like this bliss state where you're like, oh, how interesting that this popped up. This opportunity came up. And I was just thinking about that the other day. Or, interesting that this came in. Great. All right, cool. Didn't know that was coming, but I think that's a great, unexpected gift from the universe. So it's moving into that place. And then two, when we put ourselves and our life purpose first, we are, what I like to teach my students is, when you listen to your intuition, when we are really aligned with ourselves, when we're putting our intuition, our life purpose, we're all doing that. You can prioritize your day even based off of the flow. So what I like to teach in my classes is, okay, in the morning, I'm going to have a meeting with you could say your higher self, you could say your spirit guides, and then you're going to receive all the messages after you clear your mind. And then those messages could simply be, don't forget to make sure that your child has lunch, because there's a great possibility that your son is going to forget to take his lunch to school. Or you need to really make sure that your husband talks to his boss because there's something that just feels off. Or I feel like I need to eat turmeric, or I need to have turmeric in my diet. So there's so much stuff that comes in, and I think people get hung up on the selfish, like I can't put myself first.
Yes.
But when you do, and you listen to that inner knowing and your intuition and all those messages from the universe, you can help other people better as well.
Yeah.
You're prepared.
Yeah. And you know what just popped into my brain is when you have a container to be able to receive it versus when we're in this constant, I read something, I want to read it. I got this from you. And then I'm going to go back to that container space, is that your number. So I was watching your video, The Number One Secret, and it starts with putting yourself and your intuition first.
Yeah.
And then you said, we have to be sure we are checking in with ourselves when we are constantly helping somebody else or we're in the midst of busy. We're never going to connect in to see if we're going down the right road.
Yeah.
And what the thought for me, because I love visuals, is often, so I get this idea, I think about when you get on an airplane, the flight attendant will say what? Put the mask on yourself first before you try to help the other person. And then another thought is, well, you can't pour from an empty cup. I want to reverse that in this situation, in that if that pitcher is full of mud, you don't want to serve from that pitcher. You don't want to drink from that pitcher. And you can't put the good stuff. You can't put the water or the lemonade or whatever you're drinking for the day, right? You can't put it in there because it has nowhere to go. So we have to clear that space to have a container to receive those messages that are going to keep us on that path, that it makes our life so much easier. I'm all about, let's make this easier for me. But
for sure,
we don't always do it, right? Because it's so easy to sit there and say, okay, this is what we should do. And we're this, but when you're in the thick of it in life, sometimes it's hard to remember that. So
it is. I love that you brought that up, because the more we're doing, let's say we're trying to manifest something or we're wanting something like an opportunity.
Yeah.
The more we water the plant, we overwater it and it dies. And so we have to give it space. So what I say too is, if you're constantly working, busy, well, you're also not going to manifest what you're wanting, because your energy is not in the place to do that. You're not going to have these amazing opportunities that come through. Your energy is not going to attract it, because it's going to be so weak and tired. And then it's just going to attract people who you probably aren't going to be in the best alignment with. And they might be negative or needy. I call them energy vampires.
Yes.
They want your energy and take your energy.
Yeah.
So one of the keys for me is, Whitney, you have to remember to take time off, or take time for yourself. And, after being an entrepreneur, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And so I'll have friends that are like, Whitney, I haven't seen you. Can you, meet me for a drink or a dinner or whatever? And I have to really look at the whole picture and say, I really need time for myself. Because if I'm not taking time for myself, or alone time, or recharge the battery, I am not going to be a great person to connect with. I'm also not going to be manifesting what I want. I'm not going to be just really full and of that excitement and energy that we need to really have a full, wonderful life. So yes, I think that it all goes together for sure.
Yeah. And that's the thought, is the boundary piece, having those boundaries for yourself and being okay with saying no. No, thank you. I would love to, but not today. Maybe another day, because this is what I need to do for me. And you often, and then I thought, wait, no, I don't even need to explain myself, because often we don't. We don't have to explain ourselves. We can just say no, thank you. Right? I mean, we can hold that space for us. And I love that about you, because that was something that I was like, yes, you know your stuff. And I love that you share so much and teach this message. And so I feel like this is a really great time to transition into, how can our listeners learn more about you, learn about your classes, balancing their chakras, tuning into their intuition, maybe finding out what their intuition is, what does that look like, what kind of intuitive are they? How can they find that out about you?
Sure. So all of that good stuff is on my website, and it's messengerofspirit.com. And I do weekly videos. So they're free videos that they could learn about. There's also a cool little quiz that I have for your listeners too. And so if they want to find out more about where their intuitive gifts are most likely geared, they can just go to messengerofspirit.com/quiz and take the quiz. So there's a lot of good stuff on the site.
Very good. And I'll link up in the show notes too, so they can have a nice, easy go to here and then take you right to there. Good. Well, is there any one last message that you feel like wants to be heard?
I would say that for everyone listening, just know that you have a special, unique gift inside that you've got to turn on. You've got to light the fire because the world needs it. We need it. You're here to help other people, but make sure it's in a healthy way. Make sure that it's the way you want to be helping people. And it's something that you have within you that you can definitely shine. And it's okay if you don't know what it is right now, but keep following your bliss. Make time for yourself. Listen to the messages that you're getting. That's going to be the most wise information that you could possibly receive. Not from me, not from some other person, but from you and the energy and the spiritual helpers that are around you. That's going to be the best advice you can possibly get.
Oh, I love that. That is, I just love that. It's stop doing, start listening.
Start listening. Yeah. I can't give you any more better advice than your spiritual helpers can give you and your intuition. Yes. And that's just where you got to listen.
Well, I love that so much. Thank you so much for being here today and just sharing so much of your gift and your wisdom and really helping these women and men tune into that goodness and that light that's available to them all the time. We just have to settle in and be willing to receive that. So thank you so much for that.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. It's been my pleasure. Hey there again, friend. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode of Empath Woman Awakened. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your aha moments and what really encouraged you to stop hiding and really impacted your life or that of your child's, and to where you felt more empowered to embody these gifts and truly share what's on your heart and what's on your mind, and to live just an authentic, amazing life, reaching your greatest potential. If you could leave that review over in iTunes, that would be amazing. And I also want to remind you that over on my website, missjenlewis.com/empath, I have a very special gift for you. It is a top 10 checklist. It's the top strategies that I use on myself, on my clients, and even on my children to really help them thrive in what sometimes feels like an overwhelming world, right? We're these highly sensitive beings. Our little children are these highly sensitive beings. We have big goals. We have big dreams. And maybe we feel stuck, or we just feel restricted by these negative energies that hold us back. And if you go over there and download that, and it's free, there's no upsell or none of that crazy stuff. It's just going to be a way to really just give you a checklist and how you can live your most amazing life using these gifts and unlocking your greatest potential to show up for your highest good. So go on over there, missjenlewis.com/empath. And until next time, y'all have an amazing day.